Today is Wednesday, October 16th, and are we headed for a Subway Series World Series? Between the Bases starts right now. Hello, everyone, and welcome back to an episode of Between the Bases podcast. My name is Noak. Alongside me today is Hach, who is a Mets fan, because today we're going to be talking about the chances that we get a Yankees versus Mets World Series. Hach, how are you doing today?
I'm good. What can be better as a Mets fan? Have not experienced an LCS since 2015. What can be better than just getting late October baseball? That's all I've wanted as a Mets fan.
I mean, and as a Yankee fan, you could say for the other side, too. You know, we've been to the LCS, but this time we're not playing Houston. So,
but you've experienced the ALCS. Mets have experienced the NLCS 3 times since the year 2000. You guys, I think, have experienced the ALCS 3 times since like 2017. So it's a little different from us Mets fans, but I can understand going to the World Series feels a little different for you guys who never won the World Series.
I've never seen a World Series. I was one when they won the first World Series in 2009. But you were wrong. They've been to 4 ALCSs since 2017.
Okay, you get the point.
But 2022, that was a horrible year. They got swept by Houston. 2019, Altuve with the walk-off. In 2017, they were cheated out of. So this is the first time they're playing a fair in a fair field. I mean, the Guardians, they're pesky, but they don't know how to play baseball. So the Yankees got lucky.
They're different than the Astros, to say the least.
Yeah, and I think the Cleveland Guardians, like I mentioned a couple minutes ago, they don't know how to play baseball. They're fundamentally good in the field, but they can't hit. They get lucky hits. I think the Yankees are just steamrolling them over them right now.
I mean, I feel like we should exclude J-Ram in that. I mean, I completely disagree with what Aaron Boone said that J-Ram isn't underrated. To all baseball fans, if you hear the discussions this year have all been about Juan Soto, Aaron Judge, Shohei Ohtani, even Francisco Lindor at the end of the year, who we'll talk about later, who I think is mightily underrated. I never heard a murmur about J-Ram. And he just had an absolutely incredible year. It just no one talked about it because he's in a small market. Boone might be right that it's not talked about in baseball, in like manager circles and stuff like that. But in a general casual fan setting, it's not, even in diehard fan settings, it's not talked about enough.
And he came one homer away from a 40-40 season.
Exactly.
Like if he would have won 40-40, you hear all about Ohtani. Oh, he won 50-50. You wouldn't have heard a single thing if Ramirez won 40-40. And that's concerning.
And he plays defense.
He plays defense. Yes. That's Mets fans. He plays defense. And he's a Gold Glove finalist.
May I rant about Gold Gloves for a minute? That might be the dumbest thing of all time. Juan Soto being a finalist for Gold Gloves, while Francisco Lindor, the man with 14 outs above average, is not a finalist, while Mason Wynn, the guy with, I think, either 2 or 4 outs above average is. I know outs above average isn't the only stat, but when you're that absurdly far apart, you should most definitely exclude Mason Wynn and add Francisco Lindor. Probably one of the best fielders in the game right now. And including Juan Soto, who, as a Yankee fan, has made some not as great plays, even in the ALCS, I believe, the ALDS against the Royals, diving on that play. It's been a rough year defensively for him. By no means should he be a Gold Glove defender. It's really just name recognition at this point.
Yeah, and I think there was kind of collection around Yankee fans. Like, we were like, what? Juan Soto? We've been watching this guy play defense all year. And yes, his arm strength is good. But whenever he goes after a fly ball, all Yankee fans hold their breath. And I think yesterday, I went on Baseball Savant because I wanted to see how many baseballs that were hit in Juan Soto's direction would have been dropped that were 99% chance catch probability. And I counted 5, and he didn't make any spectacular plays. He made good throws with his arm, but I don't know how Juan Soto made a Gold Glove. I don't.
It's really one of the broken parts of baseball awards, and it's unfortunate that that's what casual fans look at. There's a few stats that I feel like need to be wiped out of casual fans' minds. We need to replace them with other stats. Gold Gloves is most definitely one of them. Errors is a big one. Runs has nothing to do with anything. Runs, just how many times other players brought you home. At that point, if you're going to say it's how much he got on base, you may as well go off of on base percentages and steals. But there's a few stats I feel like we need to get rid of in baseball conversations.
Yeah, and I don't know how Juan Soto is going to make $500 million this offseason. Obviously, he's a great hitter, but $500 million for a guy that can't field, he can't run, he can only hit. It's kind of an overpay. And I mean, I want the Yankees to resign him. Go after him, $500 million. It's just a lot of money for a guy that can't field or hit or run.
Just want to remind everyone that Noak is the one that said that Pete Alonso will get $300 million this offseason, while he says Juan Soto should not be getting $500 million. I assume you've changed your opinion on Pete Alonso at this point, that he should be getting $300 million.
I mean, I think Alonso's going to get somewhere from 150 to 200 million. I think Soto's going to get like 500 to 600 million dollars.
Okay, so I think it's fascinating that both me as a Mets fan and you as a Yankee fan both think that we don't want our teams to overpay our star players. Obviously, Soto's on a different level than Alonso, and Alonso has mightily struggled this year, but in the postseason, he's been clutch. But Alonso, I do not want to sign past 6 years, 150. Really, anything more about is really not anything I want. I don't really want him long term. Don't really want him past 35, especially paying him a ton of money. And you're saying Soto, I guess. Soto's a little different though, just because he's so young, and that people are saying he might have room to grow. Like if someone's 25, like typically, like what year was it when Aaron Judge was 25? Was that 2017?
I think he came up after he was 25.
Okay, that's even okay. Exactly.
No, he was around 25 when he came up. Yeah.
Exactly. So 2016 Aaron Judge is 25. There's still room to grow. Of course, people hit their peaks at different times, but you could still have hope that this isn't Soto's prime, and you could be getting, if you signed that 15-year deal, 10 out of the 15 years will be top tier seasons, which is unlike when you sign these guys at 30 for 10-year deals.
Yeah, and before we get into the Subway Series talk, I was thinking about it last night, and I think Mets fans stay away from Soto. It's much better. I think as a Mets fan, I think you'd rather get Burns, Fried, Santander, and Alonso than I think Soto. So, and also
No,
if the Yankees sign Soto, then nobody's stopping the Mets from spending money. The Dodgers are going to be out of it. The Yankees are going to be out of it.
I completely would make. Listen, I would love Juan Soto as a Mets fan. Juan Soto's a superstar. Do not get me wrong. He's one of the best players in the MLB. It would be a perfect pairing with Lindor at the top of the lineup. But I would most definitely rather re-sign Alonso. I think he will be at a cheaper price. I think he will rebound. Of course, do I think he'll be the same superstar he was in 2019 with the juice balls? No, but I think he still is a well above average bat, consistently 130, 140 WRC plus with 40 home runs, and I think that's incredibly valuable. I think I'd much prefer him, Burns, as you mentioned, Santander, in a great year this year, and Max Fried maybe. That might add up to the total cost long term of Juan Soto.
All right, so now let's talk about potential Yankees Mets, World Series. What do you think? What are your odds on that of happening?
Okay, so I think the Yankees right now were in a pretty good position in the ALCS. I feel like that's pretty obvious. They're up 2-0. And I really think this game 3 is the real indicator of what's going to happen in this series. This game is who takes control of the series. The first two games, like whatever. If you go up 1-0, like a team could easily come up back from that. But if the Mets go up 2-1 with 2 more games at home, the Mets should be able to take easily one more of those games and win one in LA, which would give them the series. Of course, things happen. I think tonight, if Dodgers win Game 3, suddenly they have an advantage. They are going back to LA for the last 2 games. All they need to do is win one more game in New York and go into LA with a massive advantage. So I really think right now with the Mets and Dodgers, I think I'd favor the Dodgers just because they're a better team. I'll be completely honest. But the Mets have a ton of passion in them right now. They're on fire right now. I'd give them 45% chance of winning, Dodgers 55%, and then Yankees, I'd give them like a 75-ish% chance of winning the series. So if you add that up, I'd say like 35% chance of a Subway Series World Series. So I would love a Subway Series World Series, but I think it's great for the MLB that the Yankees are advancing because the Yankees guarantee is an intriguing matchup for MLB and MLB viewers. Like the Yankees Dodgers is a classic rivalry from the 1950s, rematch of like all those World Series in the 50s and the 60s. MLB would love that. Yankees Mets, I feel like that's self-explanatory. While the Guardians, on the other hand, I'm not really sure if there's a storyline with Guardians Dodgers.
Well, the Guardians had the longest drought in baseball history right now, so.
Yeah,
or
but I'm saying
longest either.
Guardian.
So
Yeah, Guardians, Mets, I guess. But I think they'd prefer the Yankees.
yeah, after a year where they had Rangers, Diamondbacks, they got to fix that. And I think I was thinking about it. I think the Yankees are the most well-rounded team left out of the four. I think that the Dodgers, yes, they're the best hitting team. They have a great bullpen. I don't think they are a really good starting pitching team, and I don't think the Guardians can pitch, but they can't hit. And then there's the Mets and the Yankees, and I think the Yankees. I think the Yankees are the best team to take down. I think the Yankees have the best roster to take down the Mets because they can pitch. They have good bullpen. They can hit.
Yeah.
I think they can get past the Dodgers. I think a key to getting past the Dodgers is if you beat up on Flaherty and Yamamoto. If you win one of their starts, then pretty much win the series because you got to beat Flaherty and Yamamoto though.
Yeah, and I think that just to add on what you're saying, most teams, I think, besides the Yankees, really just have two strengths here. Dodgers is really starting lineup, and that's their lineup is truly like a modern day murderer's row. Truly incredible. The Mets is their starters. The starters aren't even that great. They've just really figured out. All of them have just been on fire of late. Jose Quintana has like a .6 ERA in September and hasn't allowed to run in the postseason. It's really just everyone up in Sean Manaea has been an ace. Severino's rebounded, as I called on our show earlier this year. Very proud of that take. It's really just the starting pitchers aren't that great in like actual like how good their stuff is, but they've all found a way to be really really productive, and their lineup has become hot at a perfect time. And then the Guardians, as you mentioned, pitching, really have no lineup, and the Yankees, I think they're kind of in the middle of everyone. They don't have as good of a lineup as the Dodgers, but they have a good lineup. They don't have as good starters as the Guardians, but they have good starters, and same with both.
No, they have better starters. The Guardians just have Tanner Bye, but the Yankees have Kohler, Rodon, and Schmidt and Heel, and they have Stroman in the pen, and they're getting
You think so? Okay.
Nestor back for the World Series. So
Okay. Well, that's my personal opinion, but again, the point is, I think they're a more balanced team, and I think that's what it comes down to in the postseason. But again, I think the Mets have another additional fourth factor. Some call it grimace, some people call it momentum, depending on your definition. Some people call it OMG, some people call it playoff pumpkin. There's like 15 Mets like superstitions. There's so many like this Mets team has so many superstitions. I could like list like 15 off. Like the fan base has gone crazy over like 15 things. Seymour Wiener on opening day. Play, First pitch from someone, some interesting celebrity. They got a first pitch from. There are so many events that have happened this year that have really ignited the spark in this Mets roster.
I mean, you could say about the Yankees too. We don't have OMG, we don't have Grimace, we don't have the playoff pumpkin, but we got somebody named Luke Weaver who brings the energy, who talks about how he drinks orange juice every morning to help him pitch. He's just the best closer in baseball. And what I want to talk about the Mets is I think the Mets, they hadn't really beat up on good starting pitchers this year. They faced Wheeler, got shut down by Wheeler, got shut down by Flaherty. That Nola is probably the best pitcher they beat up on, and Freddie Peralta too. But I don't. When he faced Cole, when he faced Rodon, I don't know how that translates against the Yankees.
Okay, so there's a few things here. One, you're correct. The Mets have struggled against aces, but like who can hit these starters? Has anyone really hit Zach Wheeler that hard this year? I think there's only one start this year where Zach Wheeler, I think, got rocked. If I remember correctly, he got rocked one game, won like 4 innings, so I like 8 runs or something like that. But most teams cannot hit Zach Wheeler. So the Mets are, but what the Mets can do is they can take advantage of opportunities. When an opportunity arises, they will always, besides in Game 5 of the NLDS, which is when the bases are loaded every time, they take advantage. When Zach Wheeler came out, both in the last series of the year and in the NLDS, I think both starts to pitch 7 shutout innings, they pounced on the bullpen. That's what the Mets do. The Phillies bullpen had an 11 ERA against the Mets. The Mets couldn't hit a few of the Phillies starters, but once the Phillies bullpen came in, they were able to pounce on them. They were wild. They took pitches. They knew a fastball. They of course didn't know, but they had a feeling. They pounced on fastballs.
They got Devin Williams was tipping his pitches. That they knew.
Yeah, we all know that.
That's legal. That's legal.
No, it's tipping pitches.
He got
Yeah.
disconnected there for a second. Welcome
Thanks.
back.
Lindor, when a fastball was thrown to him on the grand slam, he was patient, bases loaded, waited for that fastball right down the middle, launched it for a grand slam. That's what the Mets are doing. They're being patient. And you're right, they might not be able to hit Garrett Cole that well. But the point is that our starting pitching can keep us in the game, and then the hitting hopefully will do a good enough job. The main weakness with this team is the bullpen. The bullpen with the Mets bullpen, it might be one of the most it was one of the worst in the playoffs to begin with, and now
They're
it's
the worst. They're the worst rotation. They're the worst bullpen left out of
I
the
know. I'll
four.
say they were one of the worst in the playoffs to begin with. Now they're by far the worst left. Edwin Diaz is still a good closer, but incredibly shaky. He shows flashes of dominance and then he's just terrible randomly. He's really scary. Against the Dodgers, walked two batters and just got 3 outs like it's nothing. He's like heart attack Diaz. You can never get through an inning with him without him walking a batter or going to 3-2 on every single batter. Then there's we traded for Phil Maton in order to be a reliable setup man. He has been terrible since the end of September. He was quite reliable for us for the first 2 months, but ever since then he has been unreliable. Ryan Stanek has been the real surprise. Ryan Stanek has established himself as a reliable setup man, and he has been quite nasty. His splitter, his fastball, all very good. And the real advantage the Mets have in the playoffs is they're able to use their starting pitching depth in the bullpen. So far they've been using David Peterson out of the bullpen. David Peterson, who had an incredible year. We're not going to talk about his xERA, but he somehow figured out how to get outs consistently despite super hard contact, and he really hasn't had a blow up outing, and has been quite good out of the bullpen. Tyler McGill had an okay year, has been great out of the bullpen, and that's what the Mets have been figuring out how to do. But overall, the Mets still have one of the weakest bullpens.
Yeah. About my Yankees, I don't think they played their best baseball. Last night I sat there. Josh Chisholm got thrown to the bases. Anthony Rizzo. They're not getting the big hit with runners from scoring position. What they are doing is, I think they faced 12 innings pitched combined out of the starting pitching, which is really incredible. They faced Lugo, they faced Walker, they faced Reagans, they faced Bobby last night, they faced Cobb. And what they do is, I think the Yankees have seen the most pitches from a starting pitcher out of any team, is that they work the count. They get the count to 3-2. They take their walks. They walked an incredible 15 times in the ALDS. They walk. They get hits, but not when there's a runner on second base. And Judge hasn't been there for them. Josh Chisholm hasn't been there for them. And Austin Wells hasn't been there for them. They've really had 3 guys hit this whole postseason, and they're right now 2 wins away from a World Series. So I think the Yankees are what we like to call lucky in a way, but they're also gritty. They don't need Aaron Judge to win a World Series. They can find other ways to win, but if they get Aaron Judge hot like we saw last night, they're going to win the World Series. I think that's a key factor for the Yankees and Josh Chisholm.
By the way, is playoff Judge a thing now? Judge performing. I know it's always been a thing, but I never bought into that. That was fake. But do you think
it's only for the past 2 times to win the playoffs, because he's the 5th most postseason homers by any Yankee. You look in 2018, 2017, he was one of the best postseason hitters you've ever seen. He was 1-dotting the Red Sox in 2018.
That's true. Of course, last night was massive for him. That hit, I was like, because Judge was mightily struggling, struck out multiple times in very key situations. That home run for him, I think, really, really, put him back in, I think, the correct mindset. And it's kind of reminding me of early season Judge. If you look at the way he's still walking, he hasn't lost the plate discipline. His OBP is still 346 in the postseason. I know it's a very small sample size, but still 346, the 167 average. And his OPS is still, despite all the struggles, he's still been able to maintain a not so bad OPS for Aaron Judge, obviously. 735. That's well above league average. But it was very similar in April. He was batting around 150, 160, was able to maintain the OPS at 700 because the process wasn't bad. It was just the struggles he was facing.
And they intentionally walked Soto to get to him. He's one of the best hitters we've seen in the past 20 years. And I think yesterday what made his homer very special is that he hit it off a top 5 reliever left in this postseason. Hunter Gaddis, combined him with Eli Morgan. Hunter Gaddis has been a top 5 pitcher in this postseason, and he took him dead center field like it was nothing. So I think, Judgy, it's time to wake up, carry this offense. Soto has been incredible. Gleyber has been incredible. Now it's time for you. And let's start getting hits with runners in scoring position, because that's how you're going to win a World Series.
Yeah. Speaking of interesting intentional walks, Mark Vientos has just been an absolute dog in the postseason, and his attitude when Dave Roberts decided to walk Francisco Lindor to get to him, to load the bases, and Vientos, he was just like, okay, put on the. He's like, okay. He's like, he said after the game, it was disrespectful. Um, Absolutely hit a nuke on the next at bat. Truly incredible. Mark Vientos, like, might be like the next Mets postseason hero. Might be the next Daniel Murphy, if you know. He's batting 378 in the postseason, 14 hits. Really, just so far, he's been incredible and really just been not talked about enough, even in the regular season. He really, going into the season, it was a real question: who was going to establish themselves as the Mets third baseman? Was it going to be Brett Beatty or was it going to be Vientos? They gave it to Beatty. They gave the job to Beatty because Beatty always had more tools. He always had tools that would better translate to the major league. He was always a better defender. He struggled mightily. Vientos comes up in only 413 at bats. He had one of the most home runs. He had one of the most home runs of any third baseman in the major leagues. There was a point, I'm not sure if he ended up this way, where he had the most home runs of any third baseman in the NL. He ended the year with 27 home runs in 410 at bats with an 838 OPS. That is real. That is really impressive. For a 24-year-old. I just 24-year-old, which is incredibly young, which is just crazy to think about how Juan Soto was only 25. But regardless, incredible for him to establish himself as a third baseman, establishing him as a real threat in the lineup, and telling guys you can't walk Lindor to get to me. That's really valuable for the Mets, giving Lindor more at bats. If they now, of course, once he delivered, now teams are like, oh shoot, we can't just walk Francisco Lindor and get to Mark Vientos. Mark Vientos is a formidable force himself, and that really has been one of the keys to the Mets' success. The Francisco Lindor and Mark Vientos.
The last thing I want to talk about today, you nailed it on Mark Vientos. I think the fact that the Yankees still haven't shown their fourth and fifth best relievers, and they haven't shown their best hitter. Jay Cousins and Ian Hamilton have been really solid for the Yankees this year. Both have pitched only once, and Jason Dominguez, who many are calling for the Yankees to call up, hasn't played once this postseason. Alex Verdugo has taken that spot. He's played great. And I think that's just an attest to what the Yankees are. They're the best team in baseball, and they're about to win the World Series. So everyone can cry about it. That hates the Yankees. Nobody likes the Yankees unless you're a Yankee fan. So the whole league can go cry about it because the Yankees are about to win the World Series. So
I beg to differ, but I respect it because the Yankees, as I mentioned, are the most well-balanced team. And because I'm a Mets fan, I cannot, in my right mind, say that the Mets are going to win the World Series. I know that somehow we're going to get up to a 3-0 lead in the World Series and blow it in devastating fashion. That's what the Mets do to you. That's what the Mets do to their fans. It's going to happen. And as I've been saying all along, I've been saying to Nook, I've been saying to everyone, this has been it's free at this point. This is free baseball. I would have been happy. The Mets going into the year were excited to be a 500 team. I would have been happy with going 82-80. Making the wild card, I was like, great, get to see postseason baseball. First time, this would be the second time since I was 7 being able to watch postseason baseball for the Mets. Then win the wild card. I'm like, great. We had to face off with the Phillies, incredible. Now we beat the Phillies. It's like incredible. We just embarrassed our division winning rivals in the playoffs. That's all a fan can ask for. I know as a Yankee fan, you probably enjoy embarrassing your rivals as well. It's really
everyone's our rivals. We're the Yankees.
I'm sure there's nothing sweeter to you than beating the Astros in the playoffs. But for me, that's the Phillies. And now putting up a fight in the NLCS, not just going down, putting up a strong fight and taking one game. And now all they need to do is win one more game at home to take it back to LA. Of course, that's not ideal. But firstly, we can clinch. The Mets can clinch in their own stadium to take it to the World Series. Unlikely, but possible. All the Mets need to do is win one of the next 3 games, not get swept at home in order to take it back to LA. That's all I could have wanted as a Mets fan. And this team is crazy. And this was supposed to be our off year. That's why the Mets traded Max Scherzer, just a reminder. Mets traded Max Scherzer because they told him this year's not going to be our competitive year. Scherzer was like, I want out. So really just incredible.
I mean, it's all fun and games until you lose to the Yankees in the World Series, because then you're never going to hear the end of it, and you're going to hope you lost to the Dodgers this round. And my advice to Mets fans is soak this all in, enjoy it. In 2017, I thought the Yankees are going to win a World Series in the next 5 years. Didn't happen. They came one game close, and they didn't get back there. Maybe they'll do it this year. Look at the Rangers and the Diamondbacks. Both made the World Series last year. Both didn't make the playoffs. So soak it all in. You don't know when you're going to be back here. Even you could project it to go 162-0, and you still don't. It's still not a guarantee to go back here. So enjoy it. Soak it all in. Thank you for coming on, Hawk. And remember to like and subscribe. Thank you, Hawk.
Thank you. See ya.